Hey guys, the Explorer 4 here, the Horror Boy. How you guys doing today? Today we're going to be getting on to the next movie in the Jason franchise, or the Friday the 13th franchise. Now, of course, after Part 8, Paramount did not want the series anymore. They were not even proud of the series to begin with. They still are not proud of the series. Paramount really hates the series, but those movies made them a lot of money, especially those earlier movies. Hell, even the later movies made money. None of them really bombed. It was just towards the end they weren't making as much money as they used to. So, without risking a bomb, because Part 8, believe it or not, was not a bomb. It was a movie that made its budget back, but was not nearly as much money as the previous films. And Paramount, I think, didn't want to risk that bomb, so they decided to sell the rights to New Line, which to me was a big mistake. I mean, you look at it, most of the movies by New Line are just either meh, except for this one. I actually really do enjoy this one. This one's going to shock some people because I actually really do love this sequel, like legitimately. Some say it's so bad it's good, some say it's just so, some say it's okay. It doesn't get a lot of fans, but I actually sincerely love this movie. I really do, and I'll get into my reasons why in a second. But you look at it like Jason X, I think is eh. I mean, at best, you can watch it on on a night where you're not wanting to watch a smart horror film. I would watch Jason X just to have a little bit of fun. But overall, I can't say I love the movie. I love Freddy vs. Jason, but that's more of a Freddy movie than it is a Jason movie. So if we speak of it as in the series, Jason in that movie was probably one of the weakest parts because it was Ken Kersinger. I didn't like the look. I didn't like how slow he was. I didn't like a lot of things about Jason in that movie. How he's afraid of water. And I love the remake. People hate the remake, but I actually personally love that remake. But if you look at it, most of these movies, even though I love the remake and I love this movie, both the remake and this movie do get a lot of hate. So when New Line got the series, it really went downhill. I mean, the Jason movies really went down the gutter as far as critics go, even as far as box office goes. I mean, really, I think the only hit out of all these movies was Freddy vs. Jason. Everything else was either mild hits or maybe made its money back, but nothing too spectacular. So, this is that turning point in the series where things start going downhill. Not for me personally, because like I said, I love this movie. Jason Goes to Hell, which back in the day was called Jason Goes to Hell, The Final Friday. I don't know why I took that out. It's actually a pretty cool subtitle for the film. But yeah, Jason Goes to Hell came out in 1993, gets a 4.3 on IMDb, directed by Adam Marcus, who I knew was like 20 or 20-something when this movie was made, when he directed this movie. Now, Jason Goes to Hell, I remember as a kid, I would watch this movie. And I remember the first time I seen the unrated version. And it blew me away. Because I had never seen a Jason movie this gory. And people were like, well, come on, man. Just because it has good gore doesn't mean it's a good movie. To me, I like the lead. I like the lead. I think John D. LeMay is a great lead. I think him and that deputy character have some good moments. And I thought he was a good actor, too. Granted, I didn't like the girlfriend, the Jessica character, Carol Keegan. I didn't like her. But it was because she was, like, she treated John D. LeMay's character like shit. That's why. I think Kane Hodder is awesome in the movie for what he's in it. I mean, he's not in the movie much, but from what he's in it, I like Kane Hodder. I like that look of Jason. I think it's a pretty creepy look. Some people say, oh, it's a shitty look. To me, it's like he got toxic waste dumped on him in Part 8. At least he didn't have a kid Jason coming back in this movie, because Part 8 ended with a kid Jason, which this is a sequel to Part 8. So it's kind of like, how did he become an adult again? That's like the only question I have. But I love that look of the mask sunken into his face. The outfit, I thought it was a very interesting look for Jason. I thought it was just a different way they did. They actually made him have sound effects. You know, he grunts, and when he gets shot, he screams. People are like, it's silly, it's awful, it's silly. I'm like, it's different. And I think that's the biggest reason why I like this movie so much is because you look at movies like Part 6 and Part 7 and Part 8, they're the same thing, different day. Only one of them involves Tommy, One of them involves Tina with telekinesis powers, and one of them involves Manhattan. Besides that, it's the same thing, different day. And plus, at that point in the series, even though I really enjoy Part 6, I think Part 7 is okay, those really aren't my favorites. I mean, I think Part 6 is a pretty good movie, but I just thought it was more of that formula was getting old. That Gothic formula I was not a fan of, so it was already getting old to begin with. So I think to me, I think with the starting with a fresh idea like this, that I actually thought was pretty creative. Yeah, it ripped off The Hidden. Yeah, it ripped off all these possession movies. But it was unique and handled well, in my opinion. People say, they made Jason a demon worm. Looks like a dick. Why would they make Jason that? I'm like, I don't hate that, to me. I don't hate that aspect. I think it's just so, this movie is just so fucking crazy and bonkers. I love it because of it being so different. And Adam Marcus made it that way. People think he didn't mean to make it so. No, he made it. He made it to where when you get Jason back, you're actually really thankful to get him back. And the third act is amazing to me. I love it. But yeah, the things that people hate about this movie, I actually love. I love the demon aspect. I love the possession aspect. I thought it was different enough that it worked. Yeah, you have some silly stuff, which I'll get into. And is it flawless? No. I mean, I absolutely hate the score to this movie. I think the score to this and Jason X and Freddy vs. Jason, I think those are some of the worst scores. Along with parts, like after part 5, the scores were not good. And then people are like, well, come on, man, you go into a Jason movie for the music. Those were like a big part of the first 5 movies. You think about the first movie's theme, the second movie's theme, the third movie's theme, the fourth movie's theme, the fifth movie's theme. They're all distinctly different to where they actually sound like they match the movie. To me, Harry Manfredini came back to do the score, and he came back to do Jason X's score. They are awful, in my opinion. They are awful. This score is like you take a Jason score and give it ADHD, because every single scene is this big, massive score, and it's loud, and it's like, dude, it just does not sound good. I hate the way the opening theme sounds. And they use this, you guys know that toy that you had when you were a kid where you flip it one way and it makes that sound, like that weird toy that makes that weird sound? They use that in this movie, and it's like really bad sounding, because it's like, every time I see that opening of the movie, I'm like, oh, that's that toy, that toy that makes that weird sound. But I'll get into the problems and stuff in a minute. I mean, pretty much the movie starts out with this girl going to Crystal Lake. She goes into a cabin by herself, and she's pretty hot, and, Jason ends up coming after her, and she runs. You find out this was a big setup, that it was like a mission for them to go there and kill Jason, which I thought made sense. I mean, hell, you have 8 movies where Jason is going around killing people, but yet the police never go to Camp Crystal Lake. They never set anything up for just in case he does come back. So I'm like, all right, that's a pretty smart idea, having them be prepared this time for when he comes back. And I like how the balls that this movie has to blow Jason up in the fucking first 5 minutes of the movie. I was just like, wow, that's really impressive. They were really taking that leap. And pretty much they set a bomb on Jason and blow him to a million pieces. It's a little bit later. This coroner is examining him. The heart of Jason Voorhees starts beating again. And this doesn't make sense. I will admit there are certain points in this movie, there are certain things in this movie that I thought were either weird, or don't make logical sense, or don't make chronological sense based on the series. There are things in this movie that are never mentioned again, that were never mentioned in the first place, like Jason having a sister, and Jason, like, that stuff I didn't really get. I did not get that. They tried doing the whole Michael Myers thing in this movie. I didn't understand that. But this coroner eats the heart of Jason Voorhees and thus gets possessed by Jason Voorhees. And it pretty much is a body hop movie. Jason is going from person to person trying to get to his sister. His sister has a daughter who had a baby. So once Jason eventually kills his sister, he now has to go kill his sister's daughter and her baby. And John D. LeMay is in the middle of this. John D. LeMay is this kind of typical guy, great lead, kind of just this regular Joe guy who gets kind of thrown in the situation. And I thought the acting was really well done. I know John D. LeMay was going to be, well, he was already in the TV series, but he was also in this. And I thought just the scenes that he was in, you know, the breaking the fingers, the deputy scenes, just seemed like a cool guy, you know. He was always cool to people, even to his ex, who treated him like utter dog shit. He was always nice to her and polite to the mom and polite to everybody. And just a cool guy, cool lead. And it's different because how many movies in the Jason series is there a guy lead? I mean, the remake has what's his name in it? Clay, that character Clay. Freddy versus Jason maybe, but there's also that's like 2 leads. I'm talking, well, there is 2 leads in this movie, but there's like, I'm not a fan of the other lead. But yeah, I thought John D. LeMay was a good lead. I thought he was a great lead. And people were like, well, how can you like this over Part 7? I'm like, already I like that better than Part 7. The lead is better in my opinion. He can actually, like, to me, his character has depth. His character was written well. You know, he has interactions with other people that I can believe and buy, and his acting is pretty good. So and I can get it, believe it or not, I can get into this batshit crazy idea more. I like this, how it went fucking off the rails. I just fucking admire that, because how many fucking movies would do that nowadays? But Jason starts killing people in some really gory way. That's another great thing about this movie. You have some of the best death scenes in the series in this movie. Like, I think this and Part 5 and Part 4 and I think the remake, you know, these are some movies that have some fantastic kills. But in this movie, the gore is there. He, you know, kills people at Crystal Lake for a little bit. And John D. LeMay gets blamed for a lot of this stuff. He gets blamed for the murders, and he is dealing with the cops. And they pretty much have to stop Jason from being reborn to his old self. And I like that. I like certain scenes. Now, is every character in this movie flawless? No. I will say this. I am not a fan of Creighton Duke, Stephen Williams. The acting isn't the problem. I think Stephen Williams does a great job as Creighton Duke, like, acting-wise. It's character-wise. Because literally, he is not ever in this series, ever. Like, if the guy from Part 4 didn't die, I could see him coming in and playing this kind of a part where, you know, he's seen Jason, he's hunted Jason before. But Creighton Duke has never been in this series. He has some awful dialogue, saying shit like, when I think of Jason Voorhees, I think of a little girl sticking a hot dog through a donut. I'm like, what the fuck is this dialogue? Like, that shit was awful. You have the stuff with Jason having a sister, which, where the fuck did that come from? You have fucking demonic daggers, which some have even said is the dagger from the Evil Dead. I'm like, how the hell is that possible? Cool cameo of the Book of the Dead. I love that cameo, that little nod to the Evil Dead. Yeah, the Book of the Dead in this movie, but if you think about it, logically it doesn't make sense, but it's a cool thing. And the dagger has to be stabbed into Jason, and that's how you can really kill him and how he can get sent to hell. That's never been mentioned before. This house, the Voorhees house in this movie, has never been mentioned before. I don't like the whole Halloween aspect of the storyline. I don't like Carol Keegan as the second lead. I thought she was horrible because she treats John D. LeMay like shit. And she's the one... John D. LeMay gets his ass kicked, and she's the one who gets the final kill. I'm like, why? Like, all she did of the entire movie was blame John D. LeMay, smack him around. He's trying to save her. She smacks him around. Like, dude, like, bad lead, in my opinion. Bad lead. There is some weird stuff in this movie. Like, there's like they call it the homoerotic shaving scene, which is a really weird scene, where Jason has this guy strapped down naked and, like, shaves his mustache off to possess him. And it's like, why would Jason do that? I mean, are they really trying to make Jason? And it was meant to be put in there. Adam Marcus even said he put it in there for purpose. Like, it was put in there intentionally because he wanted to be so out there and different. I'm just like, that does not work. I'm sorry. I can get in the whole demon worms and the hidden ripoff. I can get on all that and the fucking awesome gore. But wow, like, really, you're gonna make Jason shaving a guy naked? Like, that's really... Didn't know Jason was like that. But then Jason later on, as a worm, which is kind of weird because it's his sister, so that's disturbing as well, where the worm goes up somewhere to get to the sister. You guys in the movie know what I'm talking about. But goes up, whoop, whoop, up into her. But I don't know, man. I mean, it has a lot of problems. Obviously, the script has a lot of issues. But I can get into the movie because I think it's just so crazy, so out there. The gore is amazing. You have people getting their fucking arms broken. And, you know, this girl gets elbowed and her face caves in. And it's a practical effect. It's really well done. This guy gets, like, drowned in this, like, grease, like this, to fry, like, French fries in, like this. He gets put in this deep fryer and his face gets fried. One girl gets like a fucking pole shoved right through her and ripped up, and her whole body splits in half. Crazy death scene. There's this girl gets her head, like she's in this, like, she's like getting in this car, but Jason takes the car door and like slams it on her head. You see it smash her head in. There's a fantastic effect, which I will say this is like probably one of my favorite effects from the series, where Jason body hops and the old body like rots and melts, and you see pus and blood, and it's all on camera. You see the skin fall off, you see the jaw fall off and stretch down, flesh leaking off, that the body pretty much melts in a practical effect. That was really well done. You know, I think that, and I think also I like the idea of the body hopping, thought it was different. And maybe because I haven't seen The Hidden, this is the first time I've seen a movie where it was about body hopping like that, you know. I like that idea. Again, I haven't seen The Hidden, so maybe that's why. But I think that was a cool idea. I think it's a cool idea how Jason will see his reflection in the mirror if he looks over. And I could have sworn, now this may not be something that is right, but I could have sworn that when the guy gets his face shot right here with a shotgun or whatever, you see a part of a hockey mask, which I thought was what that was, but I could have been mistaken. So don't take that to heart. It could not be what it is. But the way that they made the makeup at least look like a hockey mask, which that would have been a cool idea, you know, them shooting off parts of the body and it being Jason underneath. That would have been a cool idea. Of course, it wouldn't make no sense, because it's like, well, then why the fuck would he get reborn if he can just fucking do all that? But yeah, man, I love I think it's a fast-paced movie. I think there's some good dialogue in the movie. I think there's some good scenes in the movie. I just think that the reason this movie gets so much hate is because of how different it is and how it's just so dramatically like off compared to the other Jason movies. Yeah, it has some story issues. Yeah, some things don't really add up. But I don't know. The third act is amazing, where Jason comes back and he's fighting John D. LeMay, throws him through a window. John D. LeMay climbs up this thing. Jason tips it over, takes like a shovel, beats the shit out of John D. LeMay. And I like the effect where the girl stabs Jason with this dagger and Jason gets dragged down to hell practically. And you had that great shot at the end of the movie, which would go on for years for people to wonder when were they going to get the Freddy vs. Jason movie. And it would take a decade from this movie to get that movie. When the Freddy glove comes up, grabs the Jason mask. Just an iconic ending. But yeah, man, if there's only a few gripes, it's with the story, with the certain weird points in the movie, certain things don't make sense, certain characters I didn't like. I hated the score. I hate the fact that they put this mask on all of the posters. And by the way, That's not what Jason looks like the worm Jason. That's not what it looks like. It looks different than that. But that metal mask, can you imagine that? A metal hockey mask like that? Like, that's a badass looking mask. Can you imagine that being in this movie? But it's not in this movie, so it's a teaser. I was just like, really? You ain't gonna put that in the movie at least? Put that awesome looking hockey mask in the film? But yeah, man, I don't hate it. I actually really do enjoy it. If you don't like it, that's fine. I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and... I can understand if people don't like this movie. If you don't like this movie, that's totally fine. Just happens to be a movie that I think is decent. That I thought was decently done. Actually, really enjoyed. Not decent. I really enjoyed this movie. I love how batshit crazy it is. I just love pretty much a lot of things about it. I mean, I think it's overall just a really fantastic sequel. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching my review on Jason Goes to Hell. I know it's a bit controversial, but I love this movie. Can't help it. Love it. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching my review. Hope you guys enjoyed. The Explorer of Horror is out. See you guys later. Bye.